You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by home cooks Aaron Walker and Heather Dyer.
We're on a mission to inspire you to try something new. Let's all learn to cook better and eat great food. Hello, listeners, and welcome to this very special episode of Three Kitchens Podcast. Heather and I are taking part in PODCASTHON this week, the global charity podcast event. This week, podcasts all over the world are sharing stories of amazing work done by charitable organizations.
And our special guest for this PODCASTHON episode is Lynn Gofflot, the Community Relations and Human Resources Manager with the Community Kitchen Program of Calgary. They're fighting food insecurity and providing life-changing education for families in need. Should we go ahead with this episode, Aaron? I'm really excited about it.
Yes, let's.
Well, welcome, Lynn. We are so happy that you joined us for this PODCASTHON episode. We're happy to have you here and can't wait to learn about the Community Kitchen Program of Calgary.
Well, thank you for having us. We're honored that you chose to reach out and just help us build some awareness around what we do. So thank you to both of you for welcoming us in on this. It's wonderful.
How about we start at the beginning? How did the Community Kitchen Program of Calgary begin?
You know, it had started over 30 years ago with one woman's vision, who was Marilyn Gunn, who was our founder. And she had retired and she just felt like she wanted to be involved in the community and help support people that were struggling with food insecurity, bring awareness around eating healthy food still when you're struggling to kind of, with a limited budget. And so it was really from her kind of heart, kind of idea of Community Kitchen Program of Calgary. And a lot of the programs our core programs that we still have pretty much all started with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is amazing because usually things evolve and then they go away. I mean, we've had to change things and of course tweak things as life changes and needs change. But a lot of the kind of core focus and impact that she wanted to have, we still try to kind of honor her legacy in that way.
I think sometimes people think these are new issues. Or you feel like you live in today and you feel like this is the thing of today, but it's really not.
No. And I think that's the thing when we started, food banks started however many years ago, I think in the 70s, they were meant to be just short-term kind of help, right? Where people could go if they were struggling for a month here and there. But now the whole program, the whole idea around food banks has completely changed. And you do have people that are dependent then on them sometimes for a good portion of their lives, which is really, really sad, but it's just our reality right now.
Mm-hmm. And who are the people who are accessing food banks?
Yeah. You know what? That's changed over the years. I mean, I think we always had kind of a general idea of, it was really the poorest of the poor that were, didn't have jobs, didn't have that kind of support system in their lives. And in the last couple of years, we've seen it now the working poor, where you may have a mom and dad that both have a job, and a decent job, but the cost of living is so astronomical for a lot of people when you look at our prices of our grocery, gas. I mean, you name the list down. They're just not making ends meet. And so we're finding that a lot of people that never knew how to rely on a food bank are now coming to us and saying, we just need help because otherwise we can't put food on the table for our kids. And, and you're finding a lot of parents are making decisions. I think Calgary Foundation puts out a really amazing report every year. And it was like 3 times a week, a lot of parents are deciding they're not going to eat supper so that their kids can eat. And these are people that are both working jobs. I mean, it's not what we used to kind of think in terms of who accessed food banks.
Yeah.
That's a big shift from where it started, right?
It is absolutely. And we are the second largest food bank in the city.
Right.
And just to give a little bit of, background and kind of what we do things differently than other food banks. We do have one program, which is called Spins Around, that is probably more traditionally a food bank kind of program in the sense that we have people, we have agencies that come in. So we've got 60 agencies right now on board with us. So 30 will come on a Tuesday and 30 will come on a Thursday, and they get food from us. And all the food that comes in for that program is donated.
Okay.
And what they will do is then they take it back to their churches, their community centers. Some are street missions, so they're actually cooking meals for people on the street. Some are organizations, and they will set up either a pantry or they will make hampers. And then they disperse it from that point forward to our most vulnerable in the city that need it. And so that traditionally is how we're the closest in how a food bank works. But what we find beautiful about that process and that program is we're only like 17 full-time people on staff here. And so we could not have the reach that we have without the agencies in between.
Right.
And so that program itself feeds around 9,000 people a week.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. And so for us to be able, so we feel like it's a really beautiful kind of combination between us and the agencies. And then there's also a dignity piece that comes in to that program as well. Whereas if you're struggling to feed your family, and you can go to your church on the corner, your community center that knows you, they know your kids, and you can get food that's going to work for your family. I think it just, I think it makes it a little bit more accessible and a little bit more dignified, because there is so much shame around food insecurity and not being able to put food on your table.
Right.
We'll talk about not having enough money. We'll talk about different things like that. But when you can't feed your family, it's a whole other ball game.
Yeah. And even to get to one location to access that is a challenge in itself, right? So being able to disperse it through those agencies and bring it to people where they are,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I think, and we're in every quadrant of the city. Obviously, we've got, different pantries and different hampers being, given in different areas. So yeah, you can find, people can access what is closest to them. Also,
Right.
if, the transportation's an issue, how are they going to get this food home? If they can go down on the corner and the community center has the pantry set up for them, then it's about making it as accessible and dignified as possible.
That's awesome. So tell us about some of the other unique programs that you offer, because when we first came across your organization, we happened to be together looking at the computer and we were like, wow, look at this. Ooh, this is cool. Look at these things they're doing. So we really want to share all those cool, unique programs that you're putting out there.
Yeah, no, wonderful. So Spins Around is one of our programs. That's one we just spoke about. Then we've got a children's program called Superstars. And so what that is that we have two facilitators, two teachers that go in to schools in the city, usually in more marginalized areas of the city. So kids that maybe don't have a great support system around them or don't have access to healthy food for various reasons. And we go in at 8 weeks at a time and we teach them basic kind of life skills. So healthy eating, active living, even etiquette, hygiene. We've added stranger danger and internet danger because that's been a really big thing that unfortunately has come to the light. And hopefully kind of set them up in a way that they have some confidence. So every week we bring them a healthy snack. So there's always fruit, and then whether it's cheese and yogurt and a healthy granola bar or something like that, but we always kind of bring them a snack at the end of each class so that they kind of also learn to have, what that looks like. And also some of them just don't have access to that kind of stuff. So at least we know on that weekly basis that we're doing that little bit for them. And then at the end of it, they get a big celebration and a graduation after the 8 weeks. And that's where the hitmen, who, when they do their teddy bear toss, we get teddy bears from that because the kids are all in grades between 4 and 5. So they're all still pretty little. And so they all get a stuffed animal and they just get to celebrate that they've kind of gone through this course and they've learned it. And it's been a beautiful course and just a really great, I think, a great support system for the schools as well.
That's very cool. And for anyone listening who's not local, the Hitmen are a hockey team, a young hockey team, and they have a game where people bring teddy bears, stuffed animals, and toss them on the ice, and they collect them and donate them around the city. So that's very cool that you're able to pass along some of that joy.
Yeah. Some of these kids don't have a lot. So
Hmm.
this is really something that, they kind of really cherish. So it's really sweet to see their little faces at the end of and I think they're proud too.
Hmm.
They've learned a lot, they've engaged, they've maybe feel a little bit stronger and better in what they know, and then they get to go home with a gift. So we figure that's a good thing.
Hmm. For
That's
sure.
Yeah.
so cool. I mean, as a local Calgarian, I've heard about the teddy bear toss for years, but I've
Yeah.
never heard the outcome or somebody on the receiving end of it where those go. So that's really awesome to learn that it's
Yeah.
going local and it's going to, great things like this.
Yeah, no, we're very blessed to be part of the one of the charities that Hitman have chosen to support. And so, that is exactly what we kind of feel. We're just very proud that we're able to take that gift and obviously make it impactful too, right? And I think
Hmm.
we are in last year we were in 40 classrooms. So we're,
Huh.
it's a lot of kids that we are able to kind of hopefully, like I said, support them and just give them a good start. And just hopefully, they'll take that home and maybe share it with their brothers and sisters, which we do hear they do.
Hmm.
They'll go home and they'll share some of the teachings of what they've learned in that day. And we think, you know what, then that just expands out, right? And helps hopefully mom and dad or mom or whoever is at home also takes maybe a little bit of the pressure off of there.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And it gives them that confidence to be a leader in their
Yes.
home, right?
Yeah.
If parents don't have time and energy to be,
Yeah.
gosh, dealing with all of that, then
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a really great program. Like again, we've had for years. So that's a big one. That's our kids program. And then we've got Calgary's Cooking. We have a commercial kitchen here that has two exact sides kitchens that you can kind of, if you wanted to do a dueling kind of chop, you could. But what happens with that program is that we bring people in. So the idea is that they're going to go home with stuff they can put in their freezer that is healthy, that they've made, that is economical.
mhm,
And that one, and also we try and kind of build the idea of community around it too. So we do have some groups that will come in together that are, organizations. They'll come and do some team building. We have groups that we put together of single people that are like, you know what, I just want to do something where I meet people and I also can take something home with me, and that's part of it as well. And then just we found really after the pandemic that people were like, because there was so much isolation for a lot of people that maybe didn't have a support system around.
right.
And yeah, so they'll come in one week and they'll do the plan, decide portions, decide recipes, all of that. And then the following week, they actually come in and do the cook. And our two facilitators go and buy all the groceries for them. So everything is ready in the fridge on the counter for them when they come in and do their cook. So we try and make it as again, as simple and easy as possible so that it can be enjoyed. But the idea is again to stretch dollars, eat healthy, and have some meals prepared so that they're not relying on maybe, not that there's anything wrong with craft dinner, but maybe not putting a box of craft dinner out for for dinner that night, that maybe it is chicken and rice and vegetables that have been prepared by them before.
Hmm. That's great. And then also, they've gained the confidence and the skill maybe to do
Yeah.
this at home again on their own. They go, okay, now I know how to plan that menu. I know how to put something together and batch a bunch of meals that I put into my freezer for my family, and now it's become part of my lifestyle.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And some people are coming in with very, very little kind of, cooking experience, and it's not necessary because we'll support them and teach them. I mean, they are doing their hands-on,
Hmm.
so we're not doing it for them. But we've got facilitators there to support them and help them as they're going along, as they're learning. So I think, it definitely does hopefully carry forward in their life.
It sounds fun too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If you don't have those skills or you're not raised with them,
Yeah,
they're not something everybody has. I know for Heather and I, we thought that was really fantastic that you guys are, not only providing food, but providing those skills.
yeah. Absolutely. And just to have the support around it. And like I said, the participants are the ones doing the work. I think like Heather, or you both said, build some confidence around it, right? So that they do feel like going forward. Okay, I know how to make that. I'm going to make
Hmm.
that again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a beautiful program around that, that is just, it is very much about community coming together, sharing stories as you're cooking, because we know that's what happens, right? You're just chatting away and you're sharing, and then being able to take home something that is healthy and accessible and ready, because we know life is so busy for a lot of parents,
Mm.
especially when you think single moms and stuff like that. There's not a lot of extra time.
Mhm.
So hopefully this takes a bit of pressure off of their weeknights, especially.
And they get to spend that time preparing the food with other adults and having adult conversations and not, dealing with the kids while they're trying to do it. We all know what a nice break that can be.
Absolutely. And so yeah, so that was the first program that actually Marilyn came up with.
Oh,
So it's been around for over 30 years. So it's definitely a really impactful program.
No kidding. That seems really ahead of the time.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, she definitely had some foresight in what when she was planning and just kind of building
Yeah.
the program. She certainly was a visionary, I would say.
No kidding.
And then our last program is our Good Food Box program. And what that is those are produce boxes that we do sell. And so we have great relationships with wholesalers in the city. And so we order produce from them. And it comes in, we assemble these beautiful produce boxes every week. It's fresh. I mean, I know they always say to us, like, we get it before the grocery store sometimes because it literally comes from them to us. And the idea around that, again, is to save money, because we usually come in at least 50% less than what you pay in the grocery stores. And we have all the boxes are assembled weekly by volunteers. So last year we used over 3,000 volunteer hours,
Hmm.
and the majority of them were around the Good Food Box program. So Monday nights we'll have a volunteer group of about 20 come in and they bag produce. The second day, on Tuesdays, they actually assemble the Good Food Boxes, our volunteers, and put it all together. And we've got 120 depots across the city and surrounding areas. So again, the idea is accessibility. If you don't have easy transport, then you can go to your community center because they might be a depot, or you can go to your church. We just want to make it as easy for people to be able to pick it up.
Hmm.
And so we've got drivers that then deliver to the depots Wednesday through Friday. And then the depots organize the rest of that through, with their volunteers. And then they get that all organized that people will come and pick up from them. Last year, when the produce prices went through the roof, our box orders were up by like almost 60%.
Oh, wow.
And the produce is beautiful. It changes all the time, but we try
Hmm.
and have basics always in there of, apples, oranges, potatoes, carrots, onions, like just kind of your staple ones. And then it will change depending on the season. Sometimes we'll get extra things like right now, obviously squash, or, there was mangoes the other day. So it changes all the time. And our two buyers that go through weekly, it's almost like putting together a puzzle, because they know they have this amount of money to spend to fill this box, and they work, it's almost like penny to penny to get the most that they can in there. So there's three sizes. There's a $30, a 35, and a 40. And it's pretty much $1 per pound of food. So like our 40 box has at least 40 pounds of fruits and vegetables in it.
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I think actually last week, I think it was 46 pounds of fruits and vegetables, because they were able to get some good deals on things. So you know what? It's again, if you're struggling with food insecurity and there's not a lot of money left at the end of the month, to kind of really buy good, healthy food, this is a way to save, because like I said, usually 50, if not more percent less than the grocery stores.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you know what? It just comes again to that. Our mandate is always trying to obviously help people who are struggling with food insecurity access food, but also access healthy food. The crappier stuff tends to be cheaper, but there is such a correlation now between food insecurity, what you eat, and mental health.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So just kind of having that kind of awareness, I think really wants us, we really want to support as much as we can.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Three Kitchens Podcast special PODCASTHON episode featuring the Community Kitchen Program of Calgary. We are thrilled to participate in this year's PODCASTHON, a global initiative aimed at using podcasting platforms to highlight charities doing good everywhere. If you are interested in seeing more of these great stories, check out podcasthon.org.
Who are the people who are accessing those programs? How do they come to you?
You know what? A lot of people word of mouth is a big thing where people will talk about it. Obviously, different depots, like if it's a church and things like that, like for the Good Food Box or Spins Around, they'll have our posters up so people can know, and then they will talk to the people at the organization about it. And we're just always out. Like I go out with my CEO, who is Sunday Nordine, and her and I go out and try and build awareness as much as we can, everywhere that we can, and spread the word that there's support available, other than just the regular food bank.
Because I can see how, if you hear about this and you think, oh, wow, that would really help me, but how do I get there? How do I find them? So I think it's just, it's great to know that there's a lot of outreach and a lot of, your local community groups are the place to go and ask, or
and even on our website, like if either of you ladies wanted to access the Good Food Box and you wanted to get that for your families, you can do that. It comes pretty much every 3 weeks. It's kind of a monthly thing because we divide it into quadrants of the city that it gets delivered to. So we'll have like a north week, then we have a downtown week and outer skirts kind of the city, and then we'll have a south week. But the Good Food Box is open to anybody. There's not a means test. And obviously, the more boxes that are ordered, the more buying power that we have in terms of the wholesalers. So we always say it's not just about people that are necessarily struggling. We want anybody to have access to it. So the Good Food Box is one of those that is kind of like, if you want to take part of it, it's there for you. And it's easy enough. If you go on our website, you go into Good Food Box, it'll actually drop down where there's a map, and it will show you the closest depot to your house or to work, whichever works better for you. And then you contact them, and then they will walk you through when they get the boxes delivered, what time you would pick them up, and then all the purchasing goes through them. So it's a very, very easy process.
Wow, very cool. I can see how that will help so many people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. When you are struggling with a limited budget, even if you know what you can pay, if you get $30 a month together and have that produce box come in, it's a little bit of control back into somebody's life that maybe has felt like it's really out of control. So, you've got that one box of fresh fruits and vegetables coming in for your family that month.
And you're helping to build self-reliance. You now feel like, yes, I can go out and get this for my family, and I know what to do with it because maybe I've now learned to cook it. I know how to prepare it. I know how to make it go farther by putting it in the freezer. You have all these layers of building confidence and self-reliance and accessibility. It's amazing.
Our tagline is reducing hunger today, educating for tomorrow. So obviously there's an immediate need that needs to be addressed, which I think like our Spins Around and our Good Food Box does. But then, it's the educating for tomorrow. So teaching kids, and so hopefully just building that confidence and that learning of what healthy food does for your mind, does for your kid's brain, so we try and span both as much as we can.
That's a really cool connection that you're making, educating people about that, because that was something we recently talked to the Calgary Counseling Center, and your gut is your second brain, I think was the way they stated that. And I don't think it's not something everybody's just going to know right away. You're not going to realize what an impact your food can make on your entire well-being, right? And so it's really cool that you're bringing all of that information to everyone.
We try to do what we can here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of our numbers, last year, just over 560,000 people accessed our programs. And when I look back at stats like 5 years ago, almost 60% higher than it was.
Wow.
So you can see the need is it just keeps going, and there's no end in sight in terms of the struggle that, the people in the city are facing. And I think our stats right now, when I started 4 years ago here, the stats were 1 in 8 Calgarians, or 1 in 8, pardon me, Albertans were struggling with food insecurity. I think right now we're sitting at 1 in 4. I always think to myself when I'm driving home, I always think, so every fourth door that I pass, somebody could be behind there, and it looks like a normal house and it looks like everything's fine, but there's barely any food in their fridge and there's barely any food in their pantry. And they're not willing to talk about it because, like I said, there's so much shame around food insecurity. That's massive in our city that we're struggling that much. And we're pretty, for all intents and purposes, Calgary is a fairly well-off city, but our neighbors are struggling. It's just the reality of where we're at right now.
That's very powerful. I know I'm going to remember that every time I'm out now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see the rise of, community pantries where people are encouraged to donate something so that somebody else can take advantage of that. And, those sorts of little grassroots movements you see popping up just shows the need.
It does. It does. And I think that's so beautiful that you see all these little pop-up pantries here and there because, we have to take care of one another because nobody ever knows kind of what situation they're going to be in. It just, you don't know what life circumstances are. You don't know economically what the province is going through and what changes can come. And so it is just always that reality that I think we just have to be aware that it can change for people who never had to worry about accessing a food bank before, and all of a sudden here they are. And how do they do this and what does this look like? So I think if we can just help one another, I think that's the biggest thing that we hope everybody will take on, whether it's through a donation, giving some dry goods or food donations, or just talking about resources and sending people to organizations like ours where we can help.
And to think that when you serve more than 500,000 citizens, and you're not the only organization trying to address the need. So that's just kind of mind-boggling,
I know. Yeah, it's kind of a little disconcerting in a lot of ways, but you kind of just have to go, okay, we just keep moving forward because, we just have to keep our head down and know what needs to be done and just keep moving forward and hopefully make a difference for people.
Well, it sounds like you are doing that.
We hope so. Right? That's always our hope. That's, at the end of the day, that's our biggest hope, is that we can make people just feel like they're supported and cared for.
Are there any other programs that you offer that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I was going to say, when we go off in the summer from our school program, we roll right into something called Tummy Tamers. And what that is we go in. Last year, we partnered with a lot of the libraries and also the beautiful Central Library downtown. They were part of the program. And we bring in, again, snacks. So healthy snacks. A lot of our fruits and vegetables this year were donated by the Calgary Produce Marketing Association. And so we had boxes and boxes of pears and apples and oranges and everything, beautiful fruit that we brought down there. And then usually paired with After the Bell, which is through Food Banks Canada. And they do a beautiful little pack of healthy, shelf-stable treats and stuff like that for kids. So like hummus and fruit bars and different things in there, crackers and stuff like that. So that these kids, again, that maybe don't have a lot of chance to get healthy food while they're at the camps. So a lot of them are doing the day camps at the libraries and hanging out there because maybe mom or dad or both are working. And so trying to support those camps as well so that they have something to offer those kids. So that's our Tummy Tamers program that we go in every summer and do that.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, as a kid who grew up in the library, that's where I spent my summers. Right. So imagine being with a group of kids and you don't have to worry about being the one who doesn't have a snack. Yeah, I think that's great.
So that's been a great one. We used to actually take hot meals into the camps that the city of Calgary used to provide through the summer. But then with COVID, everything changed. So then we had to kind of replan and rethink, okay, how do we do this? There's just so many food kind of safety and lots of different things that came up with COVID. And so it was like, okay, well, fresh fruits and vegetable or fresh fruit is always a good thing. And then, like I said, some shelf-stable goodies and treats like that for them that they can take home. So it's worked out really well.
Brilliant. I also noticed that your website, you've got a lot of resources that people can access on there in terms of recipes and just kitchen education, I guess. And I think that's a really great way to make things accessible and have those resources available.
Yeah, we started our YouTube channel. We feel like we're stars sometimes. Not really. But we started our YouTube channel about 4 years ago, and the idea with the recipes was that Judy Anderson, who's one of our wonderful staff members here who works for the Good Food Box, she's the star of the show. And so the idea was that she was going to show people to work with things that were in the Good Food Box. So if you weren't used to working with asparagus, and what the heck do I do with this? And so she would try and do different recipes, and that's still kind of the plan, is to try and do different recipes that work within some of the stuff that's in the Good Food Box. And then last year, we added Anna Manzik, who is part of our Calgary's cooking team. She actually started doing teachables, because some people are like, what do I stock my pantry with? If I need to make something really fast, or I need to stretch a recipe, what should I have in my pantry? What knives do I need to have in my drawer so that I know that I've got everything taken care of? How do I properly sanitize everything? Like just some basic kind of kitchen things she found that she was having a lot of people ask questions when she was doing Calgary's cooking program. It was like, well, what do I do with this? Or, what do I need here? Or why would I need to have that kind of a knife? So she just felt like, if we brought the teachables out, then people would learn kind of some extras. And so that was the idea around that.
I feel like every kid preparing to leave the house and go to college could use all that info too, right?
Well, many of us, I mean, Aaron and I, our whole thing here is just we're home cooks and we're learning as we go and trying to figure things out. And we have those kinds of questions too. And we're people who cook for our families every day. So, everybody can learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even liquid measuring versus dry measuring. Like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all things that over the years, I think if you bake or whatever, you learn, but it's not always necessarily that's something that somebody's gone through and explained. So we try and just kind of take maybe the mystery out of some of those basic things that we kind of need to know when you're in the kitchen. So that was the idea around teachables.
That's cool. And I like that you're helping people prepare what comes in the box, because I mean, just recently, Aaron cooked shrimp for the first time. Not that maybe there's shrimp in the box, but you come across an ingredient and you're like, here it is. I don't want it to go to waste, or I want it to be the best that I can make it. So my kids will eat it, so that I enjoy it, so I think that's great.
Yeah, and just try something different sometimes too, right? That you may not have thought of. And we do put the recipe, actually, we put recipes in the Good Food Box every week as well. So there's so when you get it that month, there's always going to be some recipes in there for you to work with. And then we change it up every round. So there's always, some support there if you want to try something different.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes there's some strange things in the food box, because sometimes there are, right? It's like, like just different things that we don't really necessarily maybe have come across very much. Or, okay, I've got a whole bag of potatoes. Okay, I know I can do mashed potatoes. I can do that. What else can I do with this? Like, I just think, some different ideas, just some different ideas to give a little bit of excitement to the table.
Love it.
Yeah. And if you've got a produce box that has to last you a month, what can you do with it so that, how to freeze it if you're going to freeze it, how to put it into things that you're making and cooking with if it's not still at its freshest.
How to store various things, what goes in the fridge, what doesn't, what needs to be wrapped in plastic, what doesn't. Like, there's all kinds of things that many of us don't know.
Yeah. Or even if you have kids, how do you hide vegetables in certain so that they're getting what they need, but it still tastes good to them, right? I mean, some of those basic things, right?
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
That is such great
support,
resource and support, for people.
Yeah.
So great.
Well, that's certainly our hope, is that it does just add that extra layer and that
Hmm.
extra support and that extra kind of not having to overthink things and go and find a recipe and go research all that kind of stuff. Like, what am I going to do with this now?
Hmm.
Well, hopefully there's something in the box that can kind of guide you through, or you go on our YouTube and check out the different recipes and then just follow through.
Hmm.
Follow along as Judy makes it, and then there's, then you also see somebody making it, which always helps, right?
Hmm.
There's that
So
kind of
big.
takes a little bit of the what the heck do I do with this thing out of the
Yes.
equation, right? Yeah.
So you mentioned volunteers that support your programs. How do volunteers find you, and how do you find those people who support your organization in that way?
We have a lot of great companies and organizations that like to come here and do kind of team building as their volunteer kind of time together. So we're incredibly blessed with the amount of volunteers that we have. But there's also an opportunity for just single volunteers to come out. And if they want to give back their time, we'll just add them into one of the bigger groups, and then they can come out. If they go on our website, you can actually go in and put an application in for our volunteers. And then our volunteer coordinator would get back in touch with you and give options as to what's available, what that looks like. And so that you can kind of have a discussion around what works best for you as well. Yeah, our
Yes.
volunteers are gold. Because honestly, like our Good Food Box program, if we did not have the volunteers on a weekly basis on those Mondays and Tuesdays, and Fridays, because they come in and actually assemble the actual cardboard boxes that we use for the Good Food Box, they'll come and tape them and get them prepared. So if we did not have our 50 to 60 volunteers a week that come in, we couldn't run the program, because they are the bulk of what gets done is done through volunteers' hands. So it's pretty remarkable. So yeah, we're always open to having volunteer. And if you have a family group that wants to come in, and friends and family, and you want to do this as something just fun to kind of give back, we love that. We love that. So just go on our website, and like I said, just access the volunteer application and put it through. And then, Val, who's our volunteer coordinator, she's really good at getting back to people and kind of just giving you all the information that you can make then a decision on what works best.
Very cool.
So are there any upcoming events or initiatives that you guys are rolling out?
Yeah, we actually were doing our first ever food drive, which we've
Oh.
never done. I know that sounds crazy as a food bank, but we've just never done that. But our Spins Around program has been struggling with canned goods, dry goods, all those basic, we're about 30% down. And because that program, like I said, feeds 9,000 people pretty much minimum a week, we're looking to kind of just add, obviously, to that. So we're starting that on Family Day weekend. Basically, we're starting it just the Monday of that, call it Nourishing Families. And so we're looking for organizations or even offices that are willing to take a couple of our boxes and just have their staff donate some dry goods. So it could be soup, pastas, cereals, obviously canned vegetables, any of those kind of basic shelf stable goods
Hmm.
is what we're looking for. So that will go on for that's about a month, that we're having that run. So that will be very exciting, because like I said, we've never done a food drive before. So that's kind of our biggest one right now. I would say that's kind of our top one on the list of our things to do.
Oh, that sounds really fantastic.
Yeah, and I would just say honestly, I mean, any kind of donation, any type of,
Yeah.
whether monetary or food, we are always open, because the need is just constantly growing. The more that we get, the more that we're able to help. So, people can go on our website. There's a donate option easy on the front page.
Hmm.
Or, if they were wanting to get together, like I said, and do some type of part of a food drive, or they want to do that themselves and then bring it in, we're happy to help and support however we can, because we just appreciate whatever people are able to give. I know it's hard for everyone right now, and we recognize that. So we're just grateful when people are willing to give whatever they can.
Can you tell us where all of our listeners can go to follow along and see what you're up to and get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously they can go onto our webpage. I have to find it here, www.insecurity, ckpcalgary.ca. So if you go on there, it'll show all of our programs. There's a tab kind of at the top with all of our programs, so they can access them, read about them, learn about if somebody wants to access a good food box. It's really, like I said earlier, it's really easy to go on there. If they want to go in and donate, they can do that. So everything is pretty much on there that kind of then spans out to whoever you need to speak to. Yeah. Or they go on our YouTube channel if they want to watch, again, the recipes being cooked, or they want to go and see a teachable and learn how to stock their pantry properly. They can go on our YouTube channel, which is again under YouTube, and it's just under Community Kitchen Program of Calgary. Or they can go on our Instagram. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. And again, our whole title, Community Kitchen Program of Calgary. So we're accessible through all of that. And, our Instagram and our Facebook will show different things that we're involved with, different people that have come out to support us. We try and use it as a platform, obviously, to build awareness, but also to say thank you, because we are incredibly blessed with the support that we get and the people that believe in what we're doing. It's just, the need just keeps growing beyond what we're kind of at. So we just kind of have to keep growing with it. So anything that people can do is great.
Mm-hmm. And we will link to the website and the social media and the YouTube, every way to find the Community Kitchen of Calgary, and it'll be in the show notes so listeners can click right through to there.
Perfect. Thank you.
This has been really informative and enjoyable, and we're so happy to meet you and hear all about the program. You're doing amazing things.
Well, thank you, Erin, and thank you, Heather. I just so appreciate you guys, just like I said earlier, building awareness with us and just choosing us to come and talk, and you let me ramble on, and I thank you for that. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. But we just, any awareness, I think we just need to get the word out that there's support. There's help in the city.
Yeah. And it's not just trying to band-aid it either. I love that you guys are going in there and building people's skills and reducing that stress and shame of having to access these programs, because it's a reality for so many people. My boss always says, Sunday always says, you know what, if we can start to change the poverty mindset, because sometimes you do have generational things, right, that have happened. So if you can start to change that maybe then the next generation can have a different experience and a different life. We just try and equip where we can, and hopefully make those changes or support those changes coming forward. Yeah. Excellent. Well, we encourage everybody to check out Community Kitchen Program of Calgary, and thank you again for joining us today, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. You guys were lovely. Thank you, everybody, for listening too.
And now for the fine print. Links to recipes and other things we talked about in this episode can be found on the show notes or our website, www.3kitchenspodcast.com. Come say hello on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok. We'd love to connect. And if you enjoy the show, pass it on. Word of mouth is the -- way people learn about new podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Somebody wants to be part of the conversation.
Yes. Yeah, they're always there.
Yeah.